Hey guys, Romie here. So this is the recap for The Has and the Have-Nots, Season 4, Episode 14. Giving candy to a baby. Or more so saying giving Candace's baby away. Maybe that's how we should preference it. But the episode starts off with actually the last thing that really happened was Jennifer. She goes down to the hotel because she has to go and see the fact that Wyatt is dead. Yes, Wyatt is officially dead. I almost said he's finally dead, but we knew this would happen. I mean, how many times can we see a character, do drugs, slip back into his old ways before it catches up with him? This is real life. So in real life, things like this happen. Jennifer is over. Jennifer is distraught because of the fact that she's like, she gave this young man his money, and because she gave him his money, he's dead. So that's really messing with her right now. She realizes it's her fault. She ignored the signs. People were trying to tell her certain things, and because she wanted to stick it to his parents, she decided to go over everything that in her gut was telling her something is off here, and just decided to believe him. Wyatt is an addict, so you don't just get cured from one stint in rehab or just staying away from drugs for a moment. That's not how it works. So she's like, I can't make the call. She can't make the call to the crier saying that, your boy is dead, because she knows that it's not her fault that she gave him the drugs. It's his fault for doing it, but it is her fault for giving him the access to the drugs, which is his inheritance. So we go past that, and now Benny, of course, took Hannah to go to see Candace. And Candace and Benny Hannah and Benny are arguing right now. They're arguing in front of Mama Pearl. Yes, that is the older white woman who, again, in normal circumstances, we wouldn't have to preference it that way, but she's a little special, so we have to say exactly the way that I said it. The older white woman, her name is actually Pearl, and so she was just like, get your hands off of her! Get your hands off of her! And it was interesting because Benny had an attitude right now, because Benny knows what really happened. Benny is trying to go and keep Hannah away from Candace because they already had a fight before, and it also has to do with Candace's son, which now we know is in foster care. So Hannah wants to know more about where he actually is. Mama Pearl's just like, you better get your hands off her. I know many people. I know many policemen. I have cameras all over the place. If you do anything, it's pretty much over for you. That's what she was trying to say without truly saying all of that. So Hannah's just like, Benjamin, go. And so Hannah was just like, oh, hi. Just like, are you sure you're okay? Are you sure you're okay? Yeah, I'm fine. Just like, you're going to that house? Yeah. And it was like, oh Lord, that house is trouble. It was like, look at that modern house. How could they build something that looks like that in this neighborhood? This old-fashioned neighborhood. I'm like, old-fashioned neighborhood. Okay. I know what that's code for. But she was just saying how there are men coming in all hours of the night. And I've seen them before come over there too. So of course that also feeds into Hannah knowing that Benjamin and Candace are up to something. But Mama Pearl goes off on a tangent and says there's this one guy who actually went in and didn't come out. And of course that sends off Hannah's antennas. She's like, what do you mean? So she explains, it was a guy kind of similar height to both of them, darker skin than her. When she almost said colored. African American. She caught herself. I had to do the snap just for effect. Normally that gets on my damn nerves, but the timing of that was perfect. But she caught herself, and so she was like, of course, darker skin than Hannah, and he had this evil presence, and he had clothes that were bigger, oversized clothing, very shifty, just very shifty looking, had such a negative energy and vibe. So I was like, okay, Mama Pearl, you get some points because you're describing Quincy to a T. And so she was like, I have pictures. Yes, I have pictures of him, because that's how much of a threat, that's how much of a presence he had, a negative presence. So she was going to go and show Hannah the pictures, because she has pictures and she has video. But as soon as Hannah said what her relation to that young man over there was, because that young man dogged Pearl out, and I was here for it, but I was like, Benny, your timing is terrible. Your timing is terrible. And so she's just like, you want to see the pictures? Yeah, I want to see the pictures. Okay. She goes to get the pictures, but as soon as she hears that Hannah is Benny's son, she's just like, duh. So that girl is your daughter, because of course, Hannah also says that Candace is her daughter. She was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Just like, oh, again, I'm so sorry. So like, yes, thank you. I know. I'm thinking Hannah needs to stop allowing people to go and bad talk Candace, because Candace is her daughter, so it's still a reflection of her. So even if they're saying you're sorry, they're still kind of slapping you in the face too. So I need you to go and at least put some effort. And who am I kidding? This is Hannah. This is Hannah and Candace. So never mind. Hannah goes and she knocks on the door and basically is like, where's your baby? 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 Why was Quincy here? What's going on? Where's your baby? Why is Quincy here? What's going on? Where's your baby? Why is Quincy here? What's going on? And I have to say it like that because you know how this show does, where they're very redundant. And so Hannah's thinking, oh, you're here. You sent your baby away because Quincy came over. You're not telling me why and where he did, but Quincy came over. He knows where you live now, so of course that's terrible. And you're scared. You're scared. So why don't you give the baby to me, because it'll be safe with me? I'm like, okay. It wouldn't, but okay. Only because of the fact that Quincy... Okay. So at this point, Candace makes up a story about her child being with this preacher who takes in, of course, foster kids, and it's usually for a short period of time, and she already met with him, and everything's okay because it's someone trustworthy, it's someone with the church. I'm thinking, doesn't mean it's someone trustworthy, but we'll go with that. And Hannah felt she felt good enough to actually go and leave Candace's. But we know how Hannah is. We know how Hannah do. So we'll see how long it takes before Hannah... it's like, look, my attendants are still off. Where's that baby? Where's that baby? How can you do this, Candace? What about Quincy? So she leaves for now. Landon is over it. Landon is leaving. Landon said to himself, I'm sick and tired of you people. And I had to preference the you people because I'm like, you people. Oh, okay, you crazy people. Yes, you crazy people. And that's what he said. I was like, okay, Landon. No, okay. I got you on that one, because the fact that Jeffrey is being so calm that Maggie Day died, the fact that Jeffrey has some type of friendship with Candace, and that his mother's crazy too. Landon's not dumb. Landon does not want to be in the chopping block. He already saw that someone who had contact with both of those women, had all three of those people, is dead now. His boss. So he's thinking, I need to get out of Dodge. Because remember, Landon was messing with Veronica by messing with Jeffrey. Like sexually messing with Jeffrey. And then he already had the issue with Candace. So now he's like, I could be next. Get out of my way. Stop looking at my phone. It's like, where... It was like, where's your phone? Use your own phone. It's like, no, my phone's broken. It's like, I don't care. I'm getting out of here. Bah! So Landon gets out of town because he cannot deal with these crazy people anymore. He cannot deal with the crazy people anymore. He can't. So Hannah gets home and Hannah's like, Lord Jesus, what did Quincy do? Well, first off, Hannah interrogates Benny. And it's like, Benjamin, what do you know? What do you know? And I was surprised. I'm like, oh my gosh, Hannah's hysterical right now. Because she's hysterical, she doesn't realize that Benny's lying to her. I was surprised because Hannah can usually catch that quickly. So she must have been hysterical. But Hannah was just like, you know, okay, so she left the child in foster care because Quincy knows where she lives. How does Quincy know where she lives? This is messed up. This is crazy. And it's like, she should still give the baby to me, but... No, what are they going to do? Because Quincy's back in the picture. It's like, what? But then she starts to think about, how did Quincy know where she lived? And then how did Quincy get into her house? Did she invite him? It's like, of course not. Why would you think that? It's like, what do you mean? How would you know? It's like, oh, no, I don't know. Again, Benny, this is the best attempt at lying that Benny's ever done. And Hannah is so distracted that she's not really thinking about she's not really thinking about his reactions. His reactions are very like, long story short, Benny convinces her, look, just go to sleep. Look, because she was wondering why did he seem so calm as if he knew something she doesn't. We know that Benny knows that Quincy's dead and he helped bury the body in her backyard. But Benny can't go and divulge that to her because, you know, Hannah would flip out. Hannah would lose it. Hannah would probably send a formal investigation out on her own daughter. And it's like, look, Hannah, you have no idea how deep this actually goes. Hell, don't get too comfortable in that house that you're staying in because it's going to be on the auctioning block soon. I mean, I'm sure that 14 days is starting to tick now. But, excuse me, Benny's eventually able to say, like, just good night, go sleep, go to bed. And the messed up part is that Benny goes and contacts Candace. He first sends her text messages. Candace, you know, is up in her bed. I would have thought that her bed is bigger. I'm like, wait a minute now, Candace. You're in that big house, but that looks like, what does that look like? A full-size bed? It doesn't even look like a queen. It might be a queen, but it looks like a full-size bed. I know, I'm nitpicking at something like that, but it could have been queen. But, Benny calls Candace, and he's just like, yo, what's going on? Candace, didn't I tell you about them damn cameras? That woman across the street, that old lady across your street, she has cameras pointed at your house. Do you hear me, Candace? She has cameras pointed at your house. That means that she knows that Quincy went in and didn't come out. What are you going to do about it? And what about your son? Is he really with the preacher? Like, what's really going on? She was just like, look, I'll have it handled. We have to move the body. How can we possibly move the body? How can we move the body if the cameras are pointed at your house? And it was just like, well, about moving this body though, you know, the messed up part is it must smell now. It has to smell by now. It's like, smells like, yes, it's a dead corpse. It's decomposing in your backyard. Of course, Benny, it's gonna smell. It's like, it's gonna take a while for the odor to go away. You know, for the initial flesh and all that to decompose. It's like, okay, so I guess a couple of months? But Ken's just like, look, I'll figure something out. It's like, what do you mean you'll figure something out? I'll figure something, don't worry about it. It's like, no, I'll figure something out. You know, I'll have to be the one to figure something out. It's like, oh, yeah, figure something out. But whatever. But it's like, and about your son, is he really with that preacher? It's just like, yeah, It's like, Candace, why are you lying to me again? It's like, okay, I gotta go. Thank you. Bye. Now, Benny was having this conversation in his bathroom, and I was waiting for Hannah. You couldn't tell me that Hannah was going to be on the other side eavesdropping, but that wasn't the case. That's why I'm like, Hannah is slipping this episode. Now, David goes to the jail to go and talk with Jim, and originally Jim has, I guess it's supposed to be bruising and blood, and I'm thinking, that's ketchup. I'm like, that is Heinz ketchup. Stop it. McDonald's Heinz ketchup. Stop it. But they talk, and Jim originally is trying to act like, oh, you know, yeah, so I sent the hit out on Veronica. And Dave's like, oh, really? Yes, really. Oh, I know you did it. And it was like, what? Like, yes, I know you did. It was just like, okay, I did it. So he was just like, yeah, but by the way, someone is dead. Maggie Day is dead. And, you know, Veronica, she's okay with it. And so Jim is like, yeah, so that's messed up. I don't know how that happened. So it's like, oh, Veronica must have, okay, but we're still in jail, so we can't really fully talk. So there's a general understanding that Veronica is truly evil. So it's like, well, did you love her? Did you love Maggie Day? Nope, didn't love Maggie Day. But she was a distraction. And then David starts to go and be deceitful. And it's like, oh, so Jim asked, did you sleep with her? And he was like, I did not cheat on my wife. Okay, David. All right. I understand you can't. Jerron can see, but we know that you. Okay. So Jim was just like, well, you need to sleep with one eye open. David's like, I don't have to because I'm getting a divorce. It's just like, your wife is crazy. You better sleep with one eye open. If you know it's good for you, better sleep with one eye open. Do it. So there's just like, you know, I owe you one for this, you know, the shiner. And David goes and says how they're frenemies now. I'm like, oh, that's so weird coming out of your mouth in regards to the two of you, but it is accurate. It really is accurate. And so he's going to help to get Jim out of there as soon as possible. So it's just like, all right, so I owe you one for this. As far as the beatdown, it's just like, no, that's okay. I'm not gonna repay that debt for you. And oh, poor Catherine. Catherine gets the phone call. She gets the phone call saying that Wyatt died, but Catherine is terrified to take the call, so she calls Hannah instead. And I mean, Catherine looked so distraught. She just looked like she was gonna die. Like she was gonna die if she took the phone call. So she called Hannah. And she was just like, you know, they're calling, I don't know what to do. And Hannah was like, did you speak with them? I was like, no, I can't, you need to come over, I can't. So Hannah goes, she takes down the phone number, she calls them back and convinces them to wait outside the house, that she's going to go there and meet with them so that they can all address Catherine together. So it's just like, oh, look at Hannah. And so when he was like, and what relation are you to Mrs. Cryer? Like, I'm her friend. I'm like, oh, look at that. Oh, isn't that so nice? Oh, so cute. So Hannah is trying to figure out where Benny is because, of course, she needs a ride. Well, she knows how to drive, but she wants to get a ride over to the Cryer's house. Now, Hannah gets the keys, which are on the kitchen table, the kitchen island, and she walks out. And guess who? Who's talking to Benny? The lady in red. Yes, Mrs. Harrington is talking to Benny. So Hannah was over it. She said not two words to either of them. And I thought that was interesting because I'm like, Hannah, Mrs. Harrington, Mrs. Harrington is Catherine's friend, and yet you didn't inform her, and the fact that Catherine, something is bad's happening. I'm like, yeah, that was a good call because, you know, they're not really like friends. They're like more so old acquaintances. Or maybe they're just the type of friends where they don't have deep conversations. They don't know everything about each other. Maybe we'll preference it that way. But next thing we know, it was Veronica versus Benny. And you know who won. Veronica got her feelings hurt, but she still overall won the battle of words. So it was just like, Benny's like, you need to talk to your husband because he came over looking for me at my place of business. And the next thing you know, all of my phone calls are being rerouted and my business is suffering. So you need to go and talk with him. And it's over between us because Veronica wanted to get her some. She wanted to go into the house. She wanted to get his mind off of what he was actually talking about. So he was just like, no, I'm not doing this anymore. So it's like, oh. Okay. All right. And she was over it because he was on this whole, because then she flipped it because he was just like, I'm not having sex with you anymore. This isn't what it is. My mother's thinking that you're here for something that you really aren't. Long story short, the conversation shifts because he was just like, well, you know what? You need to get your old ass out of here. You need to get your old ass gone. Why don't you get back in that nice car and skedaddle? And so Veronica was just like, oh, he wants to play this game. He wants to play this game with me? Oh, he's messing with the wrong one. All right, you asked for it. Terminator time. Veronica goes in for the kill. She's just like, you know what? You thought I used you to make my husband jealous, which we know she did. Or just because of the fact that she wanted to screw someone and Benny was right there. He looked the part, like generally looked the part. She was just like, if I wanted to, you know, actually make my husband jealous, I would have chosen someone who was educated with a couple of degrees, who had an actual vernacular instead of talked in street slang, who actually had a couple of zeros and commas with his paycheck or net worth. You know, are you fitting the bill right now? No. Would you ever? No. You see this? No! You could never. You could never. And Benny was just like, yeah, so that's not what you were saying last time we did. It was just like, oh, honey, you're so inexperienced. I mean, the fact that I had to go, you were messing with a grown woman and I had to show you how to play the part and do what needed to be done. But, it was faking it. It required her to go and, Veronica was doing the most. She was making all these sounds. I'm like, Veronica, I'm not imitating that. I mean, she was clowning Benny. Clowning Benny. And Benny was just like, he actually unzipped his pants, took out his unit, his penis, gosh, there's not really, none of it sounds, he took out his junk. Well, you know what I'm saying. So he took it out and he's just like, you see this? Of course she didn't look down. It's like, this is the last time you're ever going to get any of this. And she was just like, you know what? That wasn't tall enough to reach anything that I'm interested in. I'm like, Veronica, she would love you at the same time. So he was just, so he was just like, go. She's just like, okay, bye, see ya. Veronica's a savage. Alright, so Hannah goes and she's at Mrs. Cryer's house, Catherine's house, and she's like, look, we're coming inside. Everyone's here, we're coming inside. We need to go and speak with you. This is what we need to do. Make sure that you're dressed because we're coming inside. I'm like, okay, so Hannah, you gave back the key. Oh, okay, so there was a key. Damn, they're too rich to be having a key hidden right by the entrance. I mean, come on. That's not how you do it. You should at least have it like around the corner or somewhere, but not right by the... Anyway, so they get inside the house, and this is actually the same guy who, I didn't realize it, but this is the same guy that informed her that Amanda was dead. So once she saw him, she already knew what time it was. And so he was taking a moment to go and try to tell her what was going on because Mrs. Cryer fell out already. She was just like, oh my gosh, I remember you. You were here the last time. This can't be good news. What's going on? I'm like, just tell her. Stop with the suspense, Tyler, and just tell her. He's dead. People are asleep, so I can't really make the sound, but I mean, you just heard this wailing echoing in the background for a good minute and a half. So I felt really bad. Of course, Hannah was there to console her. Next week's episode, though, that's where the action is going to pick back up because Ward wants his money. What's his name? Jeffrey is sleeping with the police officer. I think his name is John. A lot is going down. So please like, comment, subscribe. Come back next week. And also look at my other recap and reviews while you're at it.